Hi everyone, and welcome to my video on how I got into running this year and how you can too. Now, I should probably start with a disclaimer, which is that I am in no way a professional. I don't even particularly run very fast. I went from not wanting to put on my running shoes or barely even owning proper running shoes for the last few years, not being able to think of anything more disgusting than going for a run, to running the distance of a half marathon, to doing 3 races. I kind of enjoy it back in 2020, but things changed and I just didn't feel that way anymore. But I did realize that I wanted to work on my cardiovascular fitness, and running is just something that was accessible to me in the environment that I'm in, with the resources that I have and in the body that I'm in. So I decided to use that as my way of working on my cardio. I actually made a little video on it and I talked about how I was going to approach it, but I thought I'd re-record and actually talk about how I did it with my own experience. Got that out of the way, I'd like to talk a bit more about the approach that I took. And so I decided to split my approach into 3 phases: fun, structure, and focus. Fun is just the beginning of getting into running, so actually starting to just get yourself out there. So I did this whilst I was actually abroad and traveling, and decided to go outside every now and then and run whatever path that I had. And I didn't have any goal of how long I was gonna run. I didn't have a goal of how fast I was gonna run. The point was just to get myself out there, and it did help to have different scenery and different things to focus on whilst I was running. But I did use that approach when I then came back, and actually I did a lot of walking. So really it's just getting into the habit of going outside or going wherever you want to run. And I did that for a few months. So this means that I wasn't doing any tracking, I wasn't doing any Strava posts, anything like that. It was just getting into a habit. I did, however, do a little bit of the phase 2 approach, which is to have a bit more structure. So I did kind of both of that at the same time, which was not the original plan, but it's what motivated me, and that is to just tell myself to run non-stop for an X amount of time. And I use this approach because it stops me from running too quickly at the beginning. It stops me from really caring about the distance and just focusing on trying to do something without giving up. So I told myself I'd run for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever the amount I felt like in the moment or on that day. And maybe for you, that might be an hour, or for you, that might be 5 minutes. You just kind of have to know what works for you, and just try to not run too quickly at the beginning. Always telling yourself to run as slow as you possibly can, which sounds strange because you might think that you're trying to get faster and you're trying to reach a certain distance as quickly as you can, but the goal situation is not that. It's just to try to be consistent and try to run without burning yourself out. And then the final stage is focus, and this is when you might want to download Strava. And I would suggest that before that, you don't even go in there, you don't even look at your pace, because for me personally, that kind of, sometimes it can be motivating, but actually the more I focus on my pace, the more frustrated I get, and I lose the fun out of the fun that I get from running, or the satisfaction, because I just perceive myself as being so slow. But that's just me. Maybe it's different for you, but I would say that up to this point, you might just use your timer on your phone to track your time. My focus was to increase my distance. I randomly decided I was going to run a half marathon. I wanted to sign up to a race, but that didn't happen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I made the goal of running 21.1 kilometers. And the way that I did this was, again, I didn't pay attention to my time. I just wanted to increase my distance. So each week I had the goal of, I think it started from like 12 kilometers. The next week it was 14. The week after 16. I actually documented it in some videos. And eventually I got to 21.1 kilometers, and it wasn't a massive deal when it happened because I had done it so iteratively that right before I was going to do it, I knew I was going to be able to do it. So I think this is where the goal setting comes in. Maybe you want to run a bit faster, you want to run the same distance faster, and that could be your goal. But you already might know at that point that yes, you can run a 5k and you just want to run it at a faster time. This is what's worked for me. Obviously, it hasn't been a very linear process. Once I finished the 21.1k, I got bored of running. Didn't really run for a bit, and then I decided to improve my 10k time. I did a 10k race that I wasn't that proud of or wasn't that happy with my time. I then worked on that a little bit and I improved my time. And yeah, now I'm a bit more chill with no specific goals, but I am improving my pace slowly but surely. It's still not quite where it's been in the past. As I said, I was in a bit of a running phase in 2020, but I have reached my goal of wanting to get back into running. So I hope this helped. Maybe it didn't. If it helped one person, or if it even helps me in some years when I want to get back into running or something, that's all good. So love you and good luck.